This tutorial assumes you know the basics of using Blender. Let's start with the book spine. Begin with a circle that you rotate 90 degrees around the x-axis. In Edit mode and Vertex Select mode, delete the right half of the vertices. In Top View, move the remaining vertices along the y-axis by 2 Blender units. Duplicate the vertices and move them down along the y-axis by -4 Blender units. In Edge Select mode, select both of the semicircles, right-click, and choose Bridge Edge Loops. Add a Solidify modifier with an offset of 1 and increase the thickness to around 0.1. In Object mode, apply the modifier. In Edit mode, add 4 horizontal edges, moving them to act as title areas. Now let's move on to the covers. Select the top and bottom faces and extrude them along the x-axis. With the faces still selected, extrude them a second time along the x-axis. Select the interior edges and use the F key to add faces. Select the faces that will make up the pages. Use the E key and then the S key and scale the faces inward. Add a center vertical edge loop to the first extruded faces. Select each edge loop, only on the top and the bottom, and move them in toward the center of the book. Select both edge loops and add a bevel with multiple cuts. Check the face orientation and make corrections as needed. In Object mode, apply all the transforms using Ctrl-A. In Edit mode, select the top and bottom covers and inset the faces. These will be for some simple decorations. Under the UV Editing tab, select the outer edges and the 2 vertical edges at the front of the book. Right-click and choose Mark Seam. Select everything and use the U key to access the UV mapping menu and choose Unwrap. If you're using 4.1, the smoothing options are different. You'll now need to add a Smooth by Angle modifier and check Ignore Sharpness. If you're using 4.0 or older, you can still right-click and choose Shade Auto Smooth. Split the viewport and open the shader editor. Add a new material for the leather and make sure you're in Material Preview. Add a Voronoi texture node and connect the distance output to the base color of the principled shader. Change the feature to Distance to Edge. Duplicate the Voronoi texture node and then mix the two nodes together with the Mix Color node. Change the blend on the Mix Color node to Overlay and the factor to 0.8. Add a value node and change the value to 45. Connect the value output to the scale input of both Voronoi texture nodes. Add a math node between the value node and the second Voronoi texture node. Change the function to multiply and the value to 1.5. Add a texture coordinate node. Connect the UV output to the vector input of the first Voronoi texture node. Add a noise texture node. Change the scale to 1 and the detail to 5. Change the roughness to 1 and the distortion to 5. Add a second Mix Color node and change the blend mode to Add. Connect the factor of the noise texture to the B input of the Mix Color node. Connect the UV output of the texture coordinate node to the A input of the Mix Color node. Connect the second Mix Color node to the vector input of the second Voronoi texture. Add a color ramp between the first Mix Color node and the principled shader. Change the white color stop to a darker color. And change the black color stop to a lighter color. Move the darker color stop towards the left to expose more of the lighter color. Add a bump node. Connect the output of the first Mix Color node to the height input of the bump node. Connect the normal output of the bump node to the normal input of the principled shader. And change the strength to achieve your desired look. Then change the value as needed. To add some damage to the leather, add a second noise texture. Connect the UV output of the texture coordinate node to the vector of the second noise texture. Add a second color ramp and connect the factor of the noise texture to it. Add a second bump node and connect the color of the second color ramp to the height. Connect the normal output of the second bump node to the normal input of the first bump node. Adjust the scale and detail of the second noise texture. Move the white color stop to the left to adjust the amount of the damage. Decrease the strength of the second bump node and invert it. Make changes as needed to the noise texture. Duplicate this material and change the color you want to use for the decorations and the title areas. In edit mode, assign this new leather to the decoration and title areas. In edit mode, select the faces that make up the pages. Under the Material tab, add a new material and assign it to these faces. Add a wave texture and connect it to the base color of the principled shader. Change the direction to Z so the bands are horizontal. Increase the scale and change the roughness to 1. Increase the distortion and change the wave profile to triangle. Add a color ramp between the wave texture and the principled shader. Change the white color stop to an off-white. And change the black color stop to a dark brown. Add a bump node and connect the color ramp to the height. Connect the normal output of the bump node to the normal input of the principled shader. And adjust the strength. To add some damage to the paper, add a noise texture. Add a second color ramp and connect the fact of the noise texture to it. Add a second bump node and connect the color of the second color ramp to the height. Connect the normal output of the second bump node to the normal input of the first bump node. Adjust the scale and detail of the noise texture. Change the roughness to 1. Move the white color stop to the left to adjust the amount of the damage. And decrease the strength of the second bump node. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video about making a leather book in Blender, you may enjoy this video. Have a good day.